Evening all, wild weather for liveweatherblogs.com. It's coming up toward 11 o'clock now. It's Friday night, and we got lots going on tonight, and time to get to it here. Once again, the cold air has been dumping in the west here, and it's been doing that now for about 2 or 3 days now. And when you do that, you send the heavier, colder air south like this, you get a ridge that pops up along the eastern states, and that's what we have right now. Cold air coming down, physics behind that, warm air bumps up, and that's what we've been seeing. Temperatures have been well above normal. Florida and up the east coast here for a day or two. That's all about to come to an end, though, at least temporarily, and then really come to an end come Monday night. In any case, cold fronts, you can clearly see where the cold front is. This is just amazing temperature gradient. An hour ago it was 70 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia, and then a line of thunderstorms went through, and bingo, it's 57. Just to the west and north of there, it's in the 30s already. 32 degrees in Nashville. These temperatures have been slowly falling all day. And this cold air is just bleeding southeastward. Now, the phrase goes, the quicker the blast, the quicker it passes. That is not the case with this cold air mass here. It has been taking days and days to move east. What I call the long route, if you would, if you want cold air to get to the east coast. As it is doing so, though, up in this area where it's below zero, there's a pretty good snowpack starting to develop. And now you got a snowpack in this area, especially in southeastern Missouri, where some areas are picked up 10 to 12 inches of snow. And with that said, this area is probably going to get pretty cold later on tonight as this cold air starts continuing to bleed down and then eventually move east. Now the flow is such that it's coming down just like this. Most of this is being deflected back up into Canada, so the upper air flow is paralleling the cold front. That's why the cold front is just blasting off to the east. And you got a nice ridge of high pressure out here, the southeast ridge pumping up here as well. But in time, this cold air is moving eastward. 39 now, Boston, New York City, down to Baltimore, and down to Roanoke here, not far from Roanoke. In stations in between, the temperatures are now starting to fall, and the cold air is starting to drill in now. So in time, the temperatures will fall, probably looking at the low 40s tomorrow, and that'll probably happen in the morning, and then temperatures will continue to fall from there. Although they say tomorrow's high temperature will be 43 in the Philadelphia area, it may be misleading as the cold air continues to move off to the east. This cold air means business. It will trudge eastward. However, with the gradient down here, remember back to my blog, you got this gradient, low pressure will develop and then move off in this direction. As it does so, though, it will drag up the warm air with it, and there lies where I got my snowfall maps as such here, coding to an inch in Philadelphia area, not east side, south side, and then maybe 1 to 2 inches in northern Bucks, Chester, northern Bucks, and Montgomery counties, and this area out here maybe a general 2 to 3 inches, and then this area down here is my wild card area. Always seems to happen when you get these storms that come up from the south. The cold air wedges down in here like this, and then in the northern western suburbs of Baltimore and Washington, I watch the traffic cams every year. This seems to happen every once in a while, and it's snowing down there. It's snowing down there a half an inch an hour, an inch an hour. The snow gets to about this point here, it just gets eaten away. Looks like a snowstorm's coming. And then you just keep on looking down here and say, wow, they are just getting inch, an inch, an inch, an inch. I could see how 2 to 4 inches of snow falls in this area. And then up here, this kind of lollygags in here. And then by the time it's ready to do some major accumulating, it's getting ready to switch over to rain here. And I think that may be the case. This area down here, we'll watch and see it. Maybe there's a quick thump of snow come Sunday, say around between 8:30 and 10 a.m., and we'll see how quickly it can move off to the northeast. Now, if it moves quickly enough to move off to the northeast and it interacts with the dry, cold air that's in place, we could pick up a couple more inches of snow. You know, it's not out of the question, but I think that's more likely down in here. This area here, trace amounts of snow is most likely. See, what's happening is the warm air is coming up from the south. It's also in some part of the layers of the atmosphere coming in from the east and southeast. So if you're closer to the coast over here, not only are you getting the warming up the coast, you're also getting it off the ocean. Whereas the interior will play a little bit of that cold land game, and you keep the refrigeration going at the surface enough for maybe 2 to 4 inch amount of snow, and then we start looking down here at the Canadian model showing this cold wedge very nicely here. This pink area is very concerning to me for an ice event, and Dean and I were talking about that last night on uh, Blog Talk Radio last night, and the Canadian model shows it very nicely. Susquehanna River Valley in Pennsylvania, back to Johnstown, and through the Shenandoah Valley and the Roanoke Valley down here. And if you're in these areas where you see this hot pink, especially in the darker hot pinks, you're going to want to maybe keep a flashlight available just in case there are some scattered power outages. If this model is correct, um, this would probably maybe do some tree damage and power outages, and maybe at least 3 to 4 hours of power outages for you, maybe longer, depending on how quickly the crews can get there. But in any case, the storm comes up, one piece off the coast, another piece, upper level piece in the Great Lakes moving off to the northeast. High pressure is not blocked in place by a negative NEO, so the high pressure gives away. And unfortunately for us in the Philadelphia area and out in central and southwestern Pennsylvania, the warm air is just allowed to flood up and snow to sleet to perhaps a period of freezing rain, then to rain. Again, if you're going to the Eagles game, be prepared. It'll probably be snowing for you as the game begins, and as the game wears on, snow will then change to sleet, then to freezing rain, and then eventually, probably by the fourth quarter or so, we should be looking at rain. I wouldn't be surprised to store. They keep the field pretty covered and warm, so any snow will probably melt on the field, but there'll be some accumulating snow, coating to 1 inch amounts, and maybe slightly more. We'll see what happens with that. But again, getting back to my snowfall map, the wild card for me would be this area north and west of say Washington D.C. and Baltimore. This area always seems to, for some reason, in situations like the snow gets near quick enough, it gets there fast, and it comes down quick because there's a convergence here with the warming and the cold, and you wind up with a quick surprise 2 to 4, even 5 inch snowfall before any changeover occurs. And with this area out here, the thing is, yeah, you'll get the changeover to occur, but you also probably get a prolonged period of icing right in here where I'm going with my cursor. In these areas here, could be a prolonged period of icing that could cause some power outages. Pretty safe bet that basically from central Chester, Montgomery, and lower Bucks County, we switch over to rain fairly quickly after a coating to maybe 1 inch, possibly 2. I think that's kind of pushing it though. So again, very cold up to the upper Midwest, warming, and it's going away now. It's crashing down here in the southeastern states. Warmth is just barely trying to hold on. This eventually will be squeezed out, especially Monday. Cold air will eventually break through. Looks like temperatures near 30 degrees on Wednesday in the Philadelphia area, maybe nighttime lows in the teens. And then we then look north because up in Alaska, crazy stuff going up Alaska. 50 degrees almost here in southwest Alaska. Last night this area was below zero. There's warming going on up here, strong high pressure system here, diving southeast, we're moving off to the southeast. Warming going on here. If that high pressure migrates to the United States, eventually in the long term, look at this cold air here. This cold air is still dumping. This cold air will relax and retreat eventually. And we get back to the currents here. The warming will start ensuing, and this area out here just won't stay this below normal for long, and there will be a relaxation, if you would, of the cold to more normal type December stuff. So, but this cold air first is going to slash off to the east, and then we'll see how much warming can take place mid to later of the month. Not sold completely on how warm it gets, but looks like this pattern is going to continue to show some quick cold shots. But this is the first time this year where we've seen the pattern kind of slow down a little bit in terms of a progressive flow, but unfortunately, for the eastern states, the cold air just dumped into the wrong spot. We need this cold air, instead of dumping down into this area, cold air really needs for the eastern states to be dumping down right about here. And we'll see how that works out. But in any case, let me go back to my blog here real quick. You see these temperature gradients. These temperature gradients here, mid 80s, below zero. We're going to get a major storm January, February, March. These temperature gradients just don't set up like this, but a strong, nice, moist subtropical jet here. We're setting up for a big one this year, folks. So get ready, January, February, March. This is Wild Weather for LiveWeatherBlogs.com. Careful of the changeover line as it slips south and east through Pennsylvania tonight. Maybe it gets to Philadelphia. We'll see how it happens. We'll see how that goes. Good night.